Next person speaking on matters not covered by legislation is Dennis Swingle. And Dennis has asked City Council to consider extending the time for this term of council is 3 minutes. But our organizational meeting in January, he's asked for the new City Council to consider extending that and also to have it talk on matters covered by legislation. So those things will be discovered at the organization meeting. But for tonight, since we're under the current rules, it's 3 minutes. Mr. Swingle, and welcome.
Good morning, or good afternoon. Dennis Swingle, 1101 East Chestnut. Actually, that's not what I'm going to talk about tonight.
I know. It's not,
I've talked to all 8 future council members, or possible future council members, and I think at least 7 of the 8 have agreed with me, maybe all 8, about the first item of extending the right to speak about something that is on the agenda. And I'll leave it there at that. The other one's up for discussion, whether we could extend the time limit. Anyhow, tonight, I feel really good about what I have to say tonight. I'm coming from a positive point of view. I'm here to support the mayor's plan for the Outer Belt that was in the newspaper a couple of weeks ago on Saturday. You know, there's been much growth to the east end of the city, and the need for access in that direction is only going to increase in the future. A new fire station is being planned, or at least discussion about acquiring the property at this point in time to do so in front of the jail. Population growth for Mount Vernon has been predicted by Mr. Starr and others to increase significantly over the coming years, and if that occurs, that is probably going to be the area in which most of the growth will occur. We've seen so much growth between Upper Gilchrist Road and Apple Valley over the last 10 years, I just can't hardly believe it. Mr. Starr supports planning for the future, and the route shows planning for the predicted growth in that area. The land needed for the proposed route needs to be secured now, however. Before more time passes, land becomes less accessible. Only one route remains available, and we can't afford to let that slip away. I refer back to things that I have spoken about before. 20-some years ago, we came before City Council with a petition asking, at that time there were 5 routes available, and asking for the city to take a look at what we could do with the 5 routes that were available. And that was before Mr. Baker started to develop his property. And at that time, there was a house on New Gambier Road that was pretty much right in the way of Eastern Star Road. And that gentleman offered up his property as long as he was given fair market value and said it could be either moved, relocated, or torn down. And we've done nothing since. And in fact, Mr. Baker since then talked about giving the land to the city free. Last and not least, then, I would ask that the City Council act now to take the necessary steps to get this plan going. It is a positive move for the entire city and the East End in particular. We need to act before the last route available is gone. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Thank
may I respond to that?
yes.
Mr. Swing, I don't know if you're aware that property Mr. Baker no longer owns.
Right.
He sold it a year ago.
Yeah, I know that.
I talked to the current owner today, as well as a week ago. I sent council an email. I asked the owner if he cared if I would pass on the information that he gave me. And basically in long and short is he does not intend in any way, shape, or form to have a road across his property. There is no deal and will be no deal. So I don't know how it was whether it was miswritten in the papers or how that happened. But this is the 3rd time I've talked to this owner about this. And he's acknowledging to me that he is not a part of any deal of any road going across his property, which is now his property, not Mr. Baker's. So I'm not saying that we don't need to keep looking into what we can do. I'm not saying that it sounds like that's not going to be a possibility as long as this owner has it. And I don't think he intends to sell it. But I do think you have a problem on Edgewood Road. And I think the new administration, it's one of their things that we want to work on.
Well, I'd make a comment since you took part of my time.
I think I heard about 20 seconds run off here. Go ahead.
I actually came to this meeting with an outline that I did not read, and it was negative for that very reason.
And I did not intend mine to be negative but informative.
No, well, let me explain. It was negative because I don't trust what Mr. May was put in the paper. I have fought for every 20 years for the problem we have with opening up Edgewood Road and making it a thoroughfare. And even 2 years ago when we presented our last petition, 4 days after the meeting when I presented that petition, Mavis and Brian Ball met with me, asked me to come in for a meeting. and they showed me their plan to open up Edgewood Road with a continuous right-hand turn lane on the Route 36. Take out the stop signs, make it a thoroughfare, break up the whole neighborhood, one of the best neighborhoods in town, and split it apart. I really don't know where this proposal came from that he put in the paper based on my experience. And I knew exactly what you were going to say about the land, because I seriously doubted that he had any agreement with the new owner. On top of that, he kept talking with Mr. Baker about securing land over and over again, and lo and behold, the surprise when Carter Marty came in, and he acted like he didn't know that Mr. Baker had sold the land. I'm suspicious. I'm sorry.
You're asking the wrong person.
I'm asking everybody. And I'm trying to get the word out to the community that the people who live there that are really concerned about the amount of truck traffic and everything else that we're getting that wants to go through the neighborhood, that is devaluating the value of their homes and making the community an unsafe area to live in from the traffic alone, along the fact that we've got speeding and all kinds of things going on, and the police are so busy going after drugs. I've called the police chief and talked to him over and over again. What, we get out there and do something about these traffic problems? We're too busy chasing the drugs. We don't have the officers necessary to pursue these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swingle.